Hey guys, today we're going to be taking a look at another entry in the Warlock wave. We've got my favorite X-Man up for review, Colossus. So here he is, and this is obviously not the classic Colossus. This is not the original costume. So that's kind of the big gripe everybody has with this figure. It doesn't really bother me too much. I would have loved to have gotten the classic costume. It is the best Colossus costume. There's no disputing that. It really is. But this costume's pretty cool. He's also a really big figure, so I can kind of give them a little pass on costume choice for what they decided to do with this guy because he could be a Build-A-Figure. I don't think people would be too happy with that if this Colossus was a Build-A-Figure, but he's humongous. He specifically weighs a lot. He's very heavy. He's got a lot of weight to him. Just real quick, for comparison's sake, here is the Logan figure from this wave right next to him. You can see, I mean, he comes up to Colossus's pecs, and Colossus is kind of hunched over a little bit here too. So there is a lot of size to him. He's about 7+ inches tall. He's still out of scale, and that's one of the things I want to try to complain about, but I don't really think I'm going to because Marvel Legends, I'm not sure they have ever been in scale with any other figure. I mean, Dazzler in this wave is way too tall, and the Kitty Pryde figure from the previous X-Men wave is too tall compared to Colossus. So he's still really big, and I like that. And then of course we have the bearded head here, which is kind of a point of contention for people as well. I'm not sure, but thankfully they gave us the regular style head. So, and I think this looks a lot more like movie Colossus than comic Colossus. He looks a lot more like how he appeared in Deadpool to me. Maybe I'm just seeing that myself, but kind of looks that way to me just a bit. So we'll go over the paint first here, and like I said, this is not the standard costume, so this is the one that I believe this costume first made its debut in Uncanny X-Men 500 when things kind of really shifted for the X-Men. And I know that he had this costume, or at least something really similar, in the whole AVX line, and when he becomes the Juggernaut, he looks like this to a degree. So it's been around for at least a little while. It's not new. That storyline is years old at this point. Late 2007, 8 maybe, something like that. I don't know. It's been a while. But as far as paint goes, he obviously has a lot of wash on his arms and on his hands. It's kind of uneven in spots, but it looks good. He looks dark. He's not bright, shiny Colossus. He's kind of dull and weathered Colossus, which I like. We have got pretty decent line work on the paint here. The X emblem is very clean on my figure. And then the lines aren't too fuzzy, which is usually a complaint I have with Legends. They're very, very straight, and they look pretty clean. I believe this figure is probably molded in the yellow, and then the red is painted on. That's what it looks like anyway. And then this black is obviously painted. On the legs, they are red with the yellow painted on, it looks like, though. And it matches pretty well. All of the colors seems to match no matter what it is. And then the gauntlets have the painted yellow on them. And it's kind of metallic-y just a bit. I'm not sure that's picking up too well on camera, but it is metallic to a degree. And then the boots have the kind of orange and then the metallic yellow gold. I do have a splotch of paint right here, which is really bugging me because it's very obvious. It comes from these lines on the boots here. But overall, he looks pretty good. I don't have too many issues with the overall paint applications on this figure, except for that one little thing down there. As far as articulation goes, pretty standard stuff, really. We've got a head on a ball and a hinge, so he can look up and down all around. Arms go out. They're ratcheted, too. And they spin all over, bicep swivel. It's only a single-jointed elbow, though, which is, obviously a little uncommon for a Legends figure. And then the hands are on a swivel, and they have a hinge, but these gauntlets are going to get in the way. Obviously, he can't really pull his hand back too far, and he can put his hand down maybe like one click. He does have a crunch. Doesn't go back very far, though, but he goes forward really far. Waist twist, but it's, you're not going to do it too much because he's going to look janky if you go too far with it. Legs go out pretty decent for a big character, I think. Forward, just more than 90 degrees, and then just back just barely. We do have a thigh cut, but that's going to mess up your paint lines, obviously, if you go too crazy with it. And then we have a double jointed knee, which goes back pretty decently. These boots would get in the way a little bit, but the sculpt itself is actually hindering it there. It's not going to go any further back than that. There is no boot swivel at the actual boot top. It's at the bottom of the foot, or bottom of the boot cuff, I guess, because this would be the cuff of the boot. So one would expect it might be here, but it's actually down here, which is fine. And then we have a rocker, which goes all over, and it's on a hinge as well. So there's pretty decent range of motion. I've been able to get his feet to actually kind of sit down really low and flush to the ground, to the point where he's like in a really good hunched over position. You got to play with him, but you can get him hunched over and then he's not going to fall. So that's pretty cool. Now, as far as sculpt goes, I mean, I really like this figure. The only gripe is that, he's not in the traditional costume, which would have more sculpt work to it, but he would obviously look cooler, I think. A lot of sculpted line work in the arms, obviously, and in the hands, of course, for that, organic steel look. The body, I'm not sure if this is a reuse of a body or not. It looks very Hyperion-esque, especially with this humongous neck, and that's probably my one problem with this character, in terms of an actual problem, not just complaining about the costume, is this neck is so big. It's huge. His head looks tiny in comparison to me, and it looks like it's just sitting a little too high unless you have him kind of positioned in certain ways. So that kind of bugs me, but beyond that, I like pretty much everything about this guy. I like the gauntlets, I like the boots, and I like the overall body style, but I still think that this neck is a problem. Traps are humongous up here. I mean, that's not unexpected for Colossus. He's a big guy. But the overall, this area is a little funky, and it looks kind of off. The big thing, though, is this head. Now, this is one of two heads, and we've got, this is the bearded one, and I believe, someone correct me if I'm wrong, that the bearded head, at least as we know it now, appeared in Extraordinary X-Men #1. I haven't read that story, but I know that that's a kind of a more recent thing, and that's where this comes from, I believe, which I don't even know if he wears this costume in that comic, so I'm not sure. Let me know. But I like this head. I like the way they sculpted the hair, so he's got kind of the part in the hair up there, and then he's got a bit of a furrowed brow, and I like the bearded head. Maybe I'm in the minority there. I like the bearded head. I love Colossus. I love everything about him. He's been my favorite X-Man for, I don't know, probably forever. Wolverine is one of my favorite characters, but if we're talking X-Men specific, it's got to be Colossus for me. He's just the coolest. Love him. And I like that head. A lot of sculpt work in the ears, too. There's paint applications in the eyes. There's not a whole lot, though. But then, of course, that hair and the beard are painted. And then we've got the other head, which, this is pretty much the standard Colossus head. So, like I said, I think it kind of looks very movie-ish to me. I don't know. Maybe I'm seeing things. But it looks like, kind of movie-like to me. But beyond that, it's pretty much the same. Not a whole lot different here. Furrowed brow is the same. Mouth looks a little different, but that's because the beard isn't there. And then, of course, there's no styling to the hair and there's no beard. But otherwise, it looks good too. I just probably will always use the bearded one. I think it's cool. And then I've got the Marvel Select Colossus with the classic styling and a regular head, so I can have these two kind of work independent of one another. So there's the regular head on the body. All right, so overall, obviously I like this figure. Compared to the rest of the wave, I don't know if he's anything that great. I do really like the figure, but this wave is pretty strong. So, Logan's really cool. Shatterstar is really cool. Sunfire is actually pretty cool. I don't know how far Colossus is going to rank up on this wave if I had to rank him, and I might just do that when I'm done. But I do like this figure. I like his size. I like the paint applications where they are there. That neck really bothers me, but it is what it is. I like the fact that we've got a closed hand and an open style pose hand, and I love the fact that they gave us two heads because of the fact that Colossus, he's a brawler. You're not going to get an accessory with him, and they kind of went. I think they went a little bit the extra mile on this one to give us that bearded head, especially when there are other characters in this wave that could have gotten accessories that didn't. I'm looking at you, Cyclops. But I like him. He's probably not going to be the one that everybody has to have once people have started to really see these all over. But he's cool. I like him. He's gonna line up really well with the rest of your X-Men. He's gonna put a lot of size to that collection, and he's gonna go kind of toe to toe with some of your Build-A-Figures if you want to, put some sort of scene together. So I am very pleased. He could obviously be in that classic costume, but we could debate that all day long, and it'll never get us anywhere. So I'm gonna take it for what it is. I do like this outfit. I like the sculpt. I like the paint. Um, it's a pretty solid figure. So if you can find him, and that's currently the problem. If you can find him, snatch him up, and I bet you'll be pleased with him. So that's going to do it for this review. As always, stay tuned for more. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and share. Do that whole YouTube deal for me. And until next time, everyone.